country and ends in the Northeast may now be open for a new kind of business, one that's pretty darn moribund for years. The business of construction. Yes, Mother Nature dealt a vicious, lethal blow, and our hearts go out to all the people who lost loved ones because of Hurricane Sandy, as well as all the people who were hurt or injured all over the Northeast. But in spite of the tragedy, in our own curious way, Sandy has given us the potential for an economic boost, the likes of which we haven't seen since the federal government stepped in and rebuilt southern Florida after Hurricane Andrew in 1992. A reconstruction so huge, it moved the country's entire GDP needle just when we needed it, right after a nasty recession. And now that we've assessed the damage, or we're trying to, at least from Hurricane Sandy, I can tell you one thing. I think this one looks like a possible replay of that hugely bullish rebuild scenario. Again, just when we need it, right after an even nastier recession. You couldn't tell any of that today, though. Other than some scattered stocks that zoomed because they made cars, think GM and Ford, delivering terrific numbers, or because they're connected with the building materials industry. The stocks that performed best today were the ones that took matters into their own hands. Think about it. We spoke to Clean Harbors. Remember that on Monday? After it bought Safety Clean to diversify away from the oil and gas business? Clean Harbors may have been up huge anyway, simply because, well, it cleans harbors and their environs after natural disasters, precisely what Sandy ordered. But buyers loved the acquisition. Stock word $8.91, 18% gain for the good guys. Tonight we're going to speak with two other companies that took actions to make you money. Just in the last couple of days, we will hear from Eaton, which traced out a terrific growth path for the future when it reported its quarter this morning, as Eaton will soon close on its acquisition of Cooper Industries, create a new industrial colossus. Hence why that stock rallied $2.10, even as people thought that perhaps it should have gone down because it was an earnings miss. Don't forget they have hurricane business. And we'll hear from today's biggest gainer, PVH, the apparel company which just this morning announced that it's taking over Warnaco, move I suggested PVH should make last month. How sweet is this deal? It caused PVH, the acquirer, for heaven's sake, to soar $18.49 in acquisitions. Clean Harbors, Eaton, PVH, three big gains.
That was easy.
How's a pleasure.
That's all well and good for individual stocks, but we know that that alone can't get these averages moving higher. Only growth in employment can do that. And on the employment front, the despicable Sandy has actually done something good. She has created the most shovel-ready jobs imaginable in an area that's desperate for employment gains. There's nothing like massive destruction of property and infrastructure for putting people back to work. An unfortunate series of events that can deliver new jobs. Now, I know that you've heard about closed retail stores, lost revenues, lost productivity. And those are all true. They're terrible. They will hurt the economy. But those are short-term in nature and recoverable. What I'm urging you to do is step back and take a look at the bigger picture. Tens of thousands of homes experienced damage from Sandy. Those that are insured for storm damage will get their insurance checks and put thousands of contractors to work buying the new gypsum board, hence the $1.48 rally in USG, purchasing new appliance, which gave the stock of Whirlpool still one more boost, $2.39 gain, and finally painting up a storm, restoring Sherwin-Williams to an uptrend. With that stock, one of my favorites, reversing the recent declines since reported a blowout quarter. Today was up $2.95. That's not the real spur to the economy, though. That also is short-term. You see, without flood insurance, those homeowners who were directly in the path of Sandy, and there were tens of thousands of homes that were, they can't begin to rebuild without government help. Because many of them live on roads that have vanished. Yes, vanished. So many roads need to be rebuilt, not just homes, but government-provided infrastructure. It rises to a national emergency. And while the level of partisanship in politics has become horrendous lately, I don't care which party you're a member of, the spirit of cooperation we saw today between Democratic President Barack Obama and New Jersey Republican Governor Chris Christie could produce what ultimately might be the biggest public works project in a generation to meet and then trump that national emergency. Remember when President Obama was elected and he thought he could put a lot of people to work in shovel-ready jobs? Turns out there just weren't that many projects that were ready. But in the wake of Sandy, I don't think there are enough shovels in the East to dig out what we've seen in those countless videos up and down the Jersey, New York coast. These jobs will be created. Those reconstruction tasks will get done. This destruction, estimated between 30 and 50 billion, and by the way, I think that will be toward the, I think that it's going to exceed that, maybe at least get to the high end, will finally move the employment needle in this country, just as the $50 billion Florida rebuild in the wake of Hurricane Andrew did. Now, when we look at industries that have been hardest hit since the Great Recession, the one that stands out the most is the construction biz. If you doubt it, go listen to Caterpillar's excellent conference call. Construction business is about half of what it was 6 years ago. The culprits? Banks that are afraid to lend, excess of homes, no need for new buildings, and roads. The federal government doesn't need loans from banks. The federal government can cut immediate checks to get work done. The federal government is the only entity in this country big enough for this job. And I think the emergency nature of it all will keep the situation from devolving into partisan politics as usual. Yes, some tasks are too big for the private sector. Sandy's one of them. So here's the bottom line. Today we get the opening bell to start up the financial economy's hard again, but the real economy, that might end up being boosted far more than we initially thought, simply because the federal government's stepping up to get the job done. Logan in Texas. Logan,